G'day viewers, fellow gold refiners, gold lovers in general. Welcome back to my series of refining recovery without the use of nitric acid, or with as little as possible used. I hope you are enjoying this series. I'm trying to make as many as I can think of. In the comments, please leave me a request if there's something that you want to see. I may already be in the process of making it, or I may not have thought about it. So let's carry on with another one from the series. G'day viewers, in this video I will be removing the gold from these copper heat sinks without nitric acid. So those who don't know, these are on the back of CPUs, and yes, they are copper. They may not look it, but they're copper. The reason these ones look so, well, I suppose you would say dirty, is because I've had them sitting in hydrochloric acid to remove what was stuck in the middle. And even though I've washed them and scrubbed them with a toothbrush, the copper still seems to have gone green, which isn't going to affect anything. It just means that the gold's not standing out as much as it normally would. It's hard to give a start weight because they all vary. As you can see down here, these ones are like full plated, close to full plated, and then you get some that aren't, and then you get some with very little, like this one. They all vary, and the copper varies too. This one's heavy, these ones are light. So I think the only way I can do this is just to tell you how many I've got, but even then, like I said, they all vary. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 29, something like 28, 29. So yeah, now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to explain this for those who are going to get all antsy and jump up and down. I'm going to be reverse electroplating the gold from those. In here I have brand new, yes, I know it's discolored, but it's brand new 98% sulfuric acid. It was nice and clear when I first bought it, and from the day I opened the bottle it started discoloring. I think it's the oxygen that got to it, I don't know. I've not seen anyone else have this problem, but it's what's happened. So it is brand new, never been used. I just poured it straight from the bottle. I've got lead, which one clip will be clipping onto, the other clip will clip onto the heatsink. I have some water so that once I've dipped them I can put them in the water. I have a computer power supply with the terminals, and they're rusty, so I've got a file here. Before I start, I'm going to tidy those terminals up so I get a good connection. And I've got this stand here which will hopefully hold the phone in a decent position where you can see, because I want to make sure I've got both hands available. Now, it's important that I tell you guys, for those who don't know, sulfuric acid, especially at 98%, is very, very dangerous. It'll eat you to the bone before you have a chance to blink. No, I won't be wearing gloves, and there is a reason for that. This will just eat through the gloves like they were never there, and I don't feel like having rubber or latex or silicone or anything stuck to my skin. What I do have is a bottle of vinegar. Now, vinegar will neutralize the chemical if I was to get it on my hands. I will be paying super attention to be really careful, but in the event that I do get some on my hands, the vinegar is there. That is the best I can think of in the way of a safety precaution. I don't have any chemical gloves, and I don't even know if there are any that will stand up to 98% sulfuric acid. So I don't want people complaining because I'm not wearing safety gear. I don't think I'm going to need safety glasses because I will be moving very slowly, just placing it down in there, holding it for a few seconds, pulling it out gently, turning it around and placing it back down in there, and then placing it in the water. And I'm sitting back, so I have no reason to have splashes, etc. And I know accidents can always happen, but there's nobody around me, no pets that are going to come jumping on me, no kids around. I just don't foresee a reason for any problems. So I have thought of all the precautions. I do have the vinegar on hand. I have got everything set up, all spaced out. I've got the water away from the power supply. This isn't my first rodeo, so I don't want people saying I'm not careful. Now, those who don't know, the gold on here is a very thick layer. It's not like normal e-waste where it's a very light layer. If you were to dissolve one of these in nitric acid, you would find the square as it is, or in best as most of it, floating on the surface or sunk to the bottom. It would stay pretty much in its shape because it is such a thick layer. Whereas normally, when you strip gold flakes from e-waste, you get small flakes, little tiny specks. It just breaks off as it falls away from the material. So I know that there's going to be some gold here. How much, I don't know. Like I said, some of these aren't really special, and some of them are. And there's not exactly a whole lot, but I think there's enough there for a demonstration. So I'm going to set the camera up. I'm going to file down the clips and get all in position, and then I'll start the video again. And I will be taking great care. So if anybody out there intends to use sulfuric acid, please be careful. I don't want to be responsible if you burn your skin so badly that you're hospitalized for months. It is very, very dangerous. So this is only showing you how I do it. I'm not by any means saying, oh, you should race out and buy some sulfuric acid and start doing this. I'll leave that up to your discretion. Anyway, I'll get back to it. I'll start doing those clips now and get set up and continue on. Alright, so I'm ready to get started. All you have to do is put your positive terminal onto the heatsink and just gently place it in there. You see the bubbling around the lead? That means it's working. It doesn't usually take very long. I don't put it all the way into the clips exposed because it will just rot away in no time. Because it is a thick layer of gold, it does take a few minutes, and I find the closer you get to the lead without touching it, obviously, the better and faster it works. So you can see there the lead, the gold has been removed. So now I'm going to gently hold on to it and move around. I'll get that one out later. Yes, that was probably an unforeseen circumstance that could have caused a splash, but I'm sitting far enough back that I'm safe. So I can continue on with these. Maybe I need better pliers or something to hold it instead of these tweezers. I don't know if you want me to show you the whole lot, because it will get a little bit boring sitting here for 20 something heat sinks. So the gold has gone from that side. This time I'll hold it super tight. Turn the clip around to the other side, and now I can remove the gold from this side. Now I know I have made a video about these before, but I didn't go into much detail about how to treat the gold afterwards, and people have asked me, so I'm basically redoing this to be more informative, and I'll be showing you how to process the gold that is recovered from these heat sinks. So you can see that the gold now has been removed. It's just a liquid on there that it's not actually any gold on there now. So I'll grab hold of this one and gently place it in the water. Grab the next victim and repeat the process over and over and over. I'll do one more and then I'll come back once they're all done. And that one that fell in I'll recover later, and there's only a tiny bit of gold left on it, so once I finish doing these I will be doing reverse electroplating of some boards. I will make advantage of that and just soak that last little bit in the solution when I do the boards. It's not going to make much difference to this video because it's such a tiny amount. There's only a little bit left on it. Now I don't feel that you're going to benefit by me sitting here and showing you every single one. It's the same process. You can see that the gold has been removed. I'll just get the last few drips off and I'll bring it closer to the camera. So now I'll get a good hold of it and gently place it in the water. I'll continue doing that until they're all done. I think it's worth mentioning also that you only want to hold these in the solution until the gold is gone. If you hold it there too long, all you're going to do is start dissolving copper. Now, there will be some copper in there. It's inevitable that some of it will dissolve, but you can have the least amount possible by keeping an eye on the gold and pulling it out as soon as the gold's finished. The longer you leave it in there, the more gold, the more copper is in there, the worse the mix will be later on when you try and refine it. And I'm an advocate for having clean gold mixes. The dirtier your gold solution, the more trouble people have trying to get purity, unless you're experienced in that. But a lot of people, when they're beginning, they don't understand why their gold doesn't look nice and clean. It's because they didn't do the procedure properly to remove all the impurities. So it's easier just to have not as many in there as possible from the beginning. Now some of these are a bit stubborn. I can see on this one here the gold just doesn't want to all come off. I mean, it's going to, it's just doing it very slowly. Some of them come off nice and clean, and you can still see the nickel behind it, or whatever tin coating or whatever these are on top of the copper. But some of them, just here, I can still see gold. So you just got to keep an eye on it, and it's up to you if you want to get every single tiny bit, or call it quits and then just be happy with the most of it. Well, refining is not a problem to me. Getting the copper out's easy as far as I'm concerned, but I know beginners would have trouble, so I'm happy to stick it out and get as much gold as I can. I still would prefer, wherever possible, to have a clean solution. So I don't go out of my way to have a dirty solution, if that makes any sense. And I just want to verify, as you can see, that I am being very, very careful, doing things very slowly, no fast movements, no swishing it around and having splashes. Is not the kind of thing you want to rush. You need patience with gold refining, and you definitely need patience for procedures like this. You can see that the gold's all been removed. Where's it? Trying to find the camera. There it is. So there's probably some yellow liquid that you might have seen on there. You can see down the back here where there's still some gold. Hang on, where's the camera? You can see up the back here. So I'll put this in a bit longer. I'll do it away from the acid while I get this ready. I'll put it back in for some more time. Having the water there is good to wash it, so you can get the solution off and then see if anything left behind. But I'll just give this a little bit longer, and not too long, because I don't think it would make all that much difference with the tiny little bit extra gold. You barely notice it. I'm happy with that. So, and with the water it goes, nice and gently, not dropping it in there. I'll do the next one. This one here is a good one. This is a fully plated one. I like these ones. Now these clips are very tight. They hold on to it really well. Some people I've seen, when they're doing reverse electroplating, they use a piece of stainless steel. You probably could. I have this piece of lead. It's never let me down. I have so much lead, it's not funny. I've got lead coming out of my bum, so it's no biggie for me to use lead. I guess it's personal preference. I think stainless steel would be more suited for use with vinegar or salt water. It might be okay with sulfuric acid, I don't know. I've only ever seen people using lead, so that looks like it's fairly clean. I'll have a look later when I wash it, but for now I'll turn it around gently, carefully, slowly. I wouldn't advise any children, teenagers, etc. do this. And the adults out there, who some are as bad as teenagers and children, some aren't. Most of my viewers I know are very intelligent. At least I like to think so. But I do want to stress that I'm not teaching you how to do this. I'm showing you how I do it. There's a difference. If you choose to copy me, do so at your own risk, because I won't be liable if you get hurt. Okay, I'll put that in the water and give it a rinse and see if I've got it all. Yep. I wish that the solution had been nice and clear from the get-go, because then you would be able to see really, really well all the gold that is now settling towards the bottom. I can see it from this angle. I don't know if you guys can yet, but I'll move the camera later and show you. It falls off as a black soot type, what do you call it, which is basically black sediment that is slowly making its way down to the bottom. Sorry if the camera's moving around, it's a bit windy, and that stand I showed you is moving a little bit. I know I was going to come back at the end when I finished all these, but I just wanted to say those few things. I wouldn't suggest using clips that aren't very tight. These have a good hold on it. I've got other clips inside, like little alligator clips that are very small and don't have much strength. There is no way I would use those in this situation. Oh, my phone scared the crap out of me. I would not use those in this situation. These ones have got a very tight spring in them and they hold on to it really well. And the risk of it falling in is like before when I was moving it around. There was the tweezers that gave up, not the clip. And another thing, for those who don't know my channel very well, I pride myself on showing things how they really are. There are lots of channels out there who do funny editing to make their videos look more appealing and to cut out mistakes and so on. I could edit that clip out where the heatsink fell to the bottom, but I'm not going to. I'm happy for it to stay in the video. I realise some people are going to have a bit of a whinge about it. You can't see where I'm sitting right back, and I don't feel like I'm at any risk. Yes, there's always allowances, there's always room for error, and there's always room for a mistake to go badly wrong with anything you do. But I'm taking precautions, which is more than what some people do. Okay, so I will continue on now and I'll be back later. Now before the solution gets too dark, I'll try and give you a look. It's pretty hard to see because the sulfuric acid is dark anyway, but you can see it's darker up the top than it is down the bottom. It's slowly settling down. And also I forgot to mention that I am sitting upwind. As I mentioned before, it is windy today and I'm nowhere near the fumes. I can't smell it at all. So that's also been taken into account. Well, as my luck goes, I have 3 left and one that I was halfway through doing, and my power supply went zap zap bang, stopped. Now I don't know enough about them to know if it's going to come back on. Is it just a safety trip thing inside it? Is a fuse blown? I don't know. I keep dozens of these for this reason. So I'm going to go and get another one, wire it up because they're not wired up yet, and continue on. This one will get pulled apart. If someone can tell me, do these things have like a safety fuse or a trip meter that'll make it come back on in a few minutes or something, let me know. Saves me going through so many. I've tried turning the switch off and on. I've checked the power supply. There's no switches tripped off. So it's just had its day, I think. You can see the corrosion's got to it a fair bit. And I've got at least 6 or 7 I can lay my hands on right now that are really nice and new. Only problem is they're not wired up. That won't take too long, but bugger. Right, it was almost finished. Alright, so I'll go and get another one and continue on. Okay, so I've got a new power supply. This one's even better, it's got a switch at the back. The other one didn't have that. The fan comes on and off when it needs to. And I'm ready to go, to carry on. If anybody wants to know how to wire up a power supply, I do have a video explaining it. And if anybody wants to know what voltage I'm using 12 volt. You could use a car battery charger if you had, or anything similar. But these are, for me, a dime a dozen. I get them all the time. So I'll just use these. Okay, time for the next stage. Now, if you have fiberglass filters, then you could filter this solution, get the gold out, and have perfectly good sulfuric acid to use again. I wish I had some, but I don't. You cannot use paper, you cannot use material. It will eat straight through them. Okay, once it's diluted, like in here, where any sulfuric that was on those is now in the water, it's not going to eat through paper or material, so this can be filtered. I think you only need to dilute sulfuric by 30% for it to be okay to go through paper filters, material filters, maybe even less than that. But definitely not at 98%. So my next step is to take these out. And I do have a glove now because it's not going to eat through the gloves, because it's heavily diluted. I'll take all these out. I'm going to give these a scrub. It looks like there might still be some gold on there, but I've got a toothbrush here. I need 2 hands, so I'm going to give these a scrub, put them aside until there's no more in there. And then I'm going to put my lead into the water and give that a scrub, and then take that out. If I left it in the sulfuric acid, it wouldn't be there tomorrow. It'd be gone. So I've got to clean these up, clean the lead up, and then I'll be back for the next stage. So I gave them all a good wash, and I noticed that there was about 6 or 7 that needed longer. So I redid them. They're all nice and clean now. It doesn't really matter too much if there is tiny bits of gold behind, because these are going in my stock pot anyway. And the copper will dissolve in the stock pot and the gold will be left behind. But I'd say I got 99% of it all. And the lead is clean. Toothbrush is clean. Tweezers cleaned. I took my power supply away from here while I'm doing this wet thing for safety reasons. Now this next step is a dangerous step, and I should wear a face shield. I don't have one. I'm going to be going very, very, very slow. So what you got to do is pour the acid into the water. You never ever pour water into acid. It's going to make an exothermic reaction. I'm going to dribble it in nice and slow. You can hear that? So I keep pouring it nice and slow, no splashing. And I'm sitting well back from it. And what this will do is heavily dilute the sulfuric acid, so that the gold, when it settles to the bottom of the container, can then be filtered. The only way you can do it, unless you've got, like I said, fiberglass filters, and that's really, really hot. If I was to touch that container now, it would be pretty hot. So nice and slow. You don't ever want to throw it in there. So I'm only dribbling it, and I'm not even anywhere near it apart from my hand. I'm going so slow. If it gets out of control, just have a little break for a bit and then go again. And it will probably take, I don't know, overnight for all the gold to settle in the bottom of the water. Now I know that this plastic container can tolerate this exothermic reaction because I've used it before. So it's always worth making sure that you've got a suitable vessel of water that can take a little bit of heat. I don't know why this can take it, it's only plastic, but hasn't let me down yet. You saw me doing this in a beaker. You don't necessarily need to use a beaker. You could use a jar, you could use a Pyrex dish, anything really. So that's all tipped out. I'm just going to squirt this out and make sure that any residue of gold is poured into this water and let it sit. I can't do much more now till tomorrow. You'll find that there will be clear water and all the gold at the bottom with maybe some flakes, and I'll clean up around the edge of the container like that, get all that off. So now I'm just going to let that sit. I'll go and put these in my stock pot, pack up and resume tomorrow. Okay, for the most part it's settled, but it is still all through the system, so I'm going to filter the whole lot to catch every bit of it. So I'll set up a filter and start catching it. There'll be a lot of it down the very bottom, but we'll see what we can get. I put a coffee filter in the funnel and it lasted for about 10 seconds, and then it just went all shriveled up and went down into the spout, and when I touched there it's all like jelly. So the coffee filter obviously couldn't handle the sulfuric acid, even though it's diluted. Should have been okay. So I'm going to put that into the solution and keep that because it'll have some gold in it, and I'm going to try a lab filter, see if that's any better. If it still does the same thing, I'm going to have to dilute this a lot more. Well, that didn't work either. The lab filter also turned to jelly. So I've just cleaned this big beaker. It's a 5 litre beaker. I'm going to pour the solution into that beaker and then put probably another litre or 2 of water in there to really dilute it, and then it will be able to go through a filter. I've tried rinsing this into the beaker. As you can see, there's gold stuck to the plastic. So what I'm going to do is get a piece of wet paper towel and wipe it clean, and I'll put that in there as well. So far that's working a lot better. I think about a litre, and the filter seems to be holding up. We'll see, give it a few minutes and see what happens. I only used a dirty beaker, it doesn't matter, I'm only collecting the gold in the filter paper. I was about to wash the beaker and I thought, well hang on, I need something to use a filter for. So once I've collected all the gold in there, I'll then be able to wash this beaker, ready for the next job. Okay, all the gold has it's finished being filtered, and it's all in this filter here. I'm going to put that into a beaker, a nice plain beaker, and dissolve it. Now I was going to put some sulfuric acid in with the AR in case any lead from the electro-stripping cell had dissolved in the solution. However, there is still sulfuric acid in this. It's really gooey to touch still. So there would be plenty in there to precipitate out any lead that may be in the system. So I'll put that in there now. I'll put some AR in there and get it dissolving. And I'm going to put poor man's aqua regia with the real poor man's aqua regia, which is bleach and hydrochloric acid. The filter's in there, bleach and hydrochloric acid is in there. I've turned it up to a medium heat. Now let's just give it time to work. I don't know how much gold I'm going to get, but I hope it's something decent. Heat it up now. It's been probably 15 minutes. As you can see, it's got a nice yellow colour. Not very dark. I would prefer it to be more orange, which would mean that it's concentrated more, but it's a good sign. At least it says there's gold in there. I'll do a stannous test later. I'm actually heading out for a few hours, so I'm going to turn the heat off and just let that sit until I come home. Do a stannous test, make up some ferrous sulfate, filter this, and see what we got. I'm back at home. I've put it back on some heat. Looks like there might still be a little bit to dissolve down the bottom. I'll give it a little while on heat, and then it should be dissolved, and then I'll filter it. Okay, so I'm filtering the solution, and I've got in this beaker here copper as. So once it's filtered, I'm going to put the copper as in with it. I'm just going to put some hydrochloric acid in there. According to the book C&M Hoax of Refining Precious Metals, she says to add hydrochloric to it. I won't need too much, so I'll just wait for this to filter and then drop the gold. Alright, so it's all filtered. Time to add some copper as. See what happens. Just give that time to work, and hopefully we'll end up with some gold.